Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 99 of Build Your Stash and Craft. Today we are going to make doodle stamps, and I saw Caged Fish. She was making some doodle leaves, and I thought that that was really cool and that those would make great stamps. So I decided that we would include those into our series because I just really liked them. So here are some that I have already done, and I did some doodles like Caged Fish did of leaves. She was doing leaves, but then I just started to do other shapes, and I love how they turned out. I love how they look. The one thing I do have to apologize about is we're going to need to add another $1 to our list. We don't absolutely have to, but I'm going to, because I think we need to add this to our stash. So the other thing that we're going to need to pick up, and you can still do this today without this, but you're going to want to get this. Okay, this is one of those mats that we did our stamps with, our ink pads with. It's a drying mat. It's got like just a little tiny bit of foam in there, and on each side it has kind of like a towel. You want one that's got a flat side. This side is flatter, and the flatter the side, the better off you've got. This is just like flat towel, and then this is really bumpy towel. So try and get one like that. And again, it's just a little tiny thin piece of foam inside, and they use this to dry dishes, and it came from the dollar store. So I'm going to take $1 out of our bank, and we're going to purchase one of those because we're going to make a paint pad to go along with this. But you can also just use your stamp pads. They will work just fine also. I just wanted to use paint instead of ink. So we're going to make that because those come in so handy. So this is what we're going to do today, and it's just so easy. But we've got our small stamps that we made with our fun foam. But sometimes you need a larger stamp. You need something to fill in a large space, or you just want to really get a background down quick, and your small stamps take a while. So all you're going to do is you're just going to take some of your fun foam, and you're going to cut yourself some shapes. So we will do, let me see, I think I'm going to kind of try and do a tall skinny heart. I don't need that to be that wide if I'm going to do a skinny heart, because I've already made a short fat heart. So I am just going to go in here and see if I can make myself a nice tall one. That looks good. And there we go. Alrighty, I like the looks of that. Now I don't like these outside edges, and this stamp is actually going to be our shape. And right here I got it very, I messed it up a little bit. So try and really move your scissors nice and smooth with long strokes. Because what I did was I was kind of chopping a little bit and made that look very, very choppy. So because we want a pretty smooth edge, because that edge is going to be the outside of our stamp, and it is going to show. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to doodle on this piece of fun foam. And I lost my pen. I'm looking for my pen here. Let's see if this one works. Now, the one thing that I find is because you actually want this edge to show, what you doodle is going to be your white space. So like on my heart here, I doodled all of these little swirls, and those little swirls are what you're going to see through. Your paper from behind is going to show through whatever you draw. So I try not to get to the very edge of the stamp because I want the outline of the stamp to still be there. So when I do my doodling, I doodle inside, leaving, not running anything off the edge, except I do believe I did. Yes, I did run off the edge on one of my leaves, but that was kind of different because it was veins. But I want my heart shape to really show, and if I run a bunch of stuff off the edges, it's going to be very, well, this one I didn't press down real well, so I didn't get my nice edge here. But see how it's kind of, it distorts the look of the actual heart. So just stay inside of your piece of fun foam and just do any kind of doodle that you want to. And all you want to do is just press hard, and you don't have to really press super hard either, because this fun foam dents really easily. And the wider that you make your line, the wider your see-through part is going to be. Basically, whatever you put here, you're going to see through this to the paper underneath. And so I'm just going to kind of do this same shape on each side just because that's what I like to do. You could do one side all circles, the other side all triangles. That would look really kind of cool. And you know, just mix it up and match it up. And it's not, you don't have to worry about if your pen actually runs out of ink. All you're going for is the dent. So it really doesn't matter if there's ink in your pen or not, except I really would prefer that you could actually see the doodles while I'm doing them. But, and just continue until you think that you have it the way that you're going to like it. Now you could put a small doodle right in the middle and then just leave, so you'd pretty much have a heart with just a little doodle in the center. You know, you can doodle all the way till it's all full, except remember to leave some of your edge. Don't run your doodles off the edge unless you like that look. You never know. You might actually like the way that that looks. So it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing because my pen ran out of ink. But I'm just kind of doing this very fast so that this video doesn't take real long. But you know, you can sit in the evening, cut some of these out, and then sit in your chair and just doodle on them while you're watching TV, and then you'll have them all ready for when you decide that you want to do some stamping. And this is something, if you don't really feel like getting a whole bunch of stuff out, you can, you know, all you need is a pen, some fun foam, and a pair of scissors, and you can do this as long as you want. So there we go. Now I've doodled all over that heart, and then what you do is put it on a piece of cardboard. Now if you have a piece, let me see here. Okay, this cardstock on the back of this paper pad is not real heavy. You know, this chipboard. A heavier piece of chipboard is a little bit better. So I did mine on corrugated card. The only thing is that with the corrugated card, when I cut it out, especially on the mask here, there's nothing here to support my stamp, you know, because when you push down on it, you're not pushing down there because there's big gaps right here. And I don't know if you can see that well enough or not, but, you know, because the corrugations are running this way, there's big gaps that's not giving me a lot of pressure. So I need to remember to go in and actually press those spots because the cardboard's not heavy enough. So really the best thing to back it with is a nice heavy piece of chipboard, you know, a cereal box, or in some of your boxes, we're going to use this one right now because it's what I have here. And, but there's a lot of your boxes that are heavier than others, you know. So pick one of your heavier ones and use that. And then what I do is I just draw around this and cut it out. It does not have to be perfect. See if I dent this enough that I can actually, oh, here, look, our ink just came back. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the reason I don't leave it flat behind my stamp and, you know, just leave it to be a rectangle or a square behind there is because then that will touch your paint or your ink, and when you go to put it on your paper, it may transfer whatever you get out here onto your page, and you don't want that. But you do want something solid behind your foam. So if you just cut the approximate shape, you'll be good. And then just glue it on back there, and that will give it something solid to let you push on. Because you don't really want to push on this too much, because if you push too much where your drawing is, and you don't have anything that's just flat and a solid flatness, that's really a word, then when you push on it, you might actually push those dents down further and maybe get something on your paper. So, and this also will keep, you know, keep your stamps nice and straight and make them a little easier to store. And I try not to bend up my cardboard too much because I want it to be nice and flat. So we'll just do it like that, and then put some tacky glue on it and let it dry. Of course, you really should let them dry overnight. Put them in a book to keep them flat, but not a super heavy book because you don't want to get rid of your indentions that you just drew into your foam core or foam sheets. So you don't want to make it super heavy and make this flatten out your decoration, but just something to kind of keep it flat and keep it together. I'm just going to put that on there. I want to make sure that it is behind my heart kind of everywhere. And then there is a little bit of extra here. I won't really bother with that right now. If I find that when I stamp it, that picks up paint and shows, then I'll go ahead and I'll trim that off. But it should be, it's so close, it should not press down. Now, the one thing that you want to do is put a handle on it, because something that's this small, when you go to stamp it in your ink or in your paint, you're going to get your fingers in your paint by touching that. And also when you try and then put it on your paper, that's going to transfer to your paper. And when you try and pick it up, it's hard to pick up, so we want to put a handle on it. And we're just going to do that with masking tape. If, there it is. I was going to say if I can find it. I have everything here before I start, and then it just totally disappears on me. And so you're just going to rip a piece of masking tape and fold it together in the middle at the top, but keep these wings out here so that we can stick those to the cardboard. Try and make sure that you line your masking tape up on each side, because if it's crooked, when you put it on your stamp, wherever it wasn't actually lined up, that part will still be sticky. So it might stick to something when you go to store it away. So if you try and make that straight, and so this is what we have. We put our little wings on there, and we have our little handle here. So now we can pounce it, and we can use it as a stamp. I wanted to show you how to do a mask because I love masks, and they're really not that hard to do. So all you're going to do, whoops, is you're just going to take a piece of your fun foam, and the one thing you have to remember is you want a nose. That's really the most important thing. The rest of it could be anything. But so you're going to start in the middle, and you want to start, you don't want to like go on an angle, because then your nose is going to have a point in the middle. So you want to start fairly flat. You want to just kind of be flat, and then just kind of round it up a little bit, and that's going to be your nose. And then from there, it doesn't matter what you do. You can just do anything that you want to. And I just kind of curve around and around and around. And sometimes I like to have a little point at the very center also, pointing down. And so I'm going to do that, but you don't have to have that. You could have it point up if you want to. That's cool also. And so this is what I have for my mask. Now this is a little bit wide. I like them thinner like this, but that's okay. I could actually thin this down if I want to, but I'm going to leave it like it is. Now what I'm going to do is I have my fold here, and I want to put an eye on it. So I just fold it in like this to the center, and then I just cut my eye. And again, don't go like up and around, or your eye will have like a dent in it. You have to remember to go straight in and then curve down. And then for the bottom again, go straight in and then curve it up to where the other line is. And then just pull that out of there. And there we go. Now there is our eye. And to make my second eye, I just fold it in half and just draw that in there. And that way I get my eyes in the same place, and they're the same size, because if I try and draw an eye on each side, you can most definitely do that. But if I try and do that, they are going to not be in the same spot. One will be higher than the other. One will be closer than the middle to the other. They will definitely not be the same size. And so that's why I do it that way. Now you can cut this with your X-Acto knife, or otherwise just like I did, put a hole in the center and then go out to your lines. And again, try not to be real choppy with it. Try and be really smooth And when you have to move your scissors, try and, get in there and be very smooth so that you don't wind up with a bunch of choppy lines where you've cut it. If you just take it slow, it's really not, you don't usually have wind up with those chop marks on it. Try and make sure that you get your corner. This kind of stretches so you can push your scissors right down into that corner. And there we go. And then if you feel like you need to trim them up a little bit, like I really don't like this right here. There. And there we go. Now I have this as my mask, and I'm going to decorate it up and wind up with something that looks like this. So, but I am going to be back in just a minute, and I was going to show you, here's an owl that I made, or that could even be a cat. So, but I'm going to draw on these, and I am just going to, like I said, I like to be symmetrical, but they don't need to be. I will do these two up and put them on a piece of cardboard, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to make the paint pad and what they look like. Back in just a sec. Okay, I'm back, and I finished decorating up my little masks and putting them on cardboard with a handle on the back. And so this one, I got a little tired, so I just did that. We'll see how it looks. You never know what they're going to look like till you actually stamp them, being that they are reverse stamps. And what you see in your lines is exactly the opposite of what you're going to see when you stamp. So the green that you see, that's what your stamp's going to look like, and the black is going to be nothing there, and you'll see through to the paper below. So I have these done, and I cut my eyes out with an X-Acto knife. I just drew them on there and then just used my X-Acto knife to cut those out, and just make sure that you be careful with that. So I'm going to show you how to make the paint pad, and I have shown this in the journaling video, but I thought it would be really cool for us to have it for this video. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a piece of the drying mat, and we're going to get it wet and wring it out. Don't forget to get it wet, because otherwise it really soaks up your paint, and your paint's not quite wet enough to get on your stamps as well. So get it wet, squeeze it out, leaving it just a little bit damp, and then we're going to put the paint on. Now, I've already done some orange earlier when I was testing out the stamps for my trials, and I just did part of it. So you can do them in one solid color, or you can do them in multiple colors, and then you just put some of your paint on there and use a credit card or just anything flat, and then just spread it. Now I have it sitting on parchment so that the paint doesn't get on my other surfaces, and then just spread it around. So you want it to be, you want to have enough paint on there for it to soak into the sponge, because that's what turns it into a paint pad, is the fact that it's soaked in there. And so when you put your stamp on it, it will come back out again. And if you start to stamp with it and you just think you don't have enough paint, then go ahead and put some more on there. And what you're going to do is you're going to work that paint in until the top is fairly flat. Now I don't have any paint over here, so I'm going to put a little more paint on here. And so you're working your paint into your sponge so that it will work as a pad. Now, you don't want to wash these in your sink. You don't want to wash all this acrylic paint down your sink. And what I do is I just get a bowl and fill it with hot soapy water, and then I put this in there and just squish it around till all the paint gets out. Then I personally toss mine outside because I live in the country. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but that is what I do. Otherwise, you can get some kitty litter and dump it in the kitty litter. The last time that I did it, I did brown paint, and after I had washed it, I loved the color. It was kind of a pinkish brown color, and so I actually stuck it in a big tin with some paper, not a kitchen tin, just an art room tin, and then I put paper in there and I dyed it, and it came out the coolest color. So, you can always try something like that. If you put colors on here that go nicely together and aren't just going to turn to mud, although if they turn to mud, that's brown, and brown is cool. So, so that's how you do it. I'm going to put a little bit, actually a little more yellow on there, And so we can use that side too. And then when I'm not using it, if I know I'm going to go back and use it later, I just fold the parchment over top of it. But first I spritz it with a little bit of water, just a few sprays of water. So I'm just going to work this into my pad. And I'm not going to need as much paint on this part because I've already got paint in there. I know that. So I'm going to just kind of work those together so that I have some of that paint too. And then I am going to, now that I've got that on there, I'm going to give it a spritz of water. And this is a really fine mist. If you have one that's heavier, you wouldn't want to spray it that many times. And there we go. Now we've got our paint pad. Now I cut this so it was a little larger than a half of a 8.5 by 11 folded in half. So it's a little bit longer than 8.5 and a little wider than 5.5. And that way I can use my line stamps for my journals, and I can do the whole thing all at once and stamp a whole half of a page with lines for my journals. And then, you know, you can always only use just as much as you think you're going to need. So I'm going to put this here, and I have some paper here, so we are just going to try our stamps and see what they look like, because like I said, you never know until you stamp them what they're going to look like. And you also never know what they're going to look like if you set them somewhere and there they are and don't remember where you set them. Okay, so we'll try this one first. I don't know, I thought it was kind of like an owl, but then I kind of thought it looked like a cat, so I don't know what it's going to look like. We'll find out. And you just want to look at it and make sure that you've got, see, I don't have any paint in here, so I'm going to make sure I get some paint in there. I'm going to get my paint all over the whole thing. And that looks like that's pretty well covered. And you want to stamp on a nice solid surface. So I'm going to put that down there. And then I'm going to, especially with the ones that I did on the corrugated cardboard, you want to make sure that you get those edges pushed down. And don't push, I'm not pushing super hard. I'm just making sure that it's making contact, because you don't want to squash those lines out of your foam. Let's see what that one looks like. Ah, he looks pretty cool. Actually, he kind of looks like a raccoon or a fox. I don't know, he's cute. Alrighty, let's try the heart that we did. And my pen started working again, so I filled that in so you could see what it looked like. And so we'll go ahead and get that one on here. Make sure we get paint everywhere. And stamp that one. And again, just make sure that it makes contact everywhere. Same if you use your ink pads, you want to make sure that the whole thing makes contact. Give it a second for that paint to transfer from the stamp to the paper. And that's what that one looks like. I just love how these turn out. And then I'm going to do this one. And we'll do that one in red too. And just remember that when you've got something like that has the eye on it, don't stick your finger in the hole. Otherwise, just make sure you don't touch it to your paper when you're putting it on your paper. Because over here I got a little red mark. Not a big deal, but you know, if you're doing something where you don't want that to happen, just be careful, okay? This one looks like it's pretty good, and I'm going to move this over and put this one right here. Making sure it makes contact everywhere. Hopefully. Go around those edges. Give it a second. Oh, I like that one too. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I really love the masks done this way because I love that decoration with the solid background. And then I did do, earlier I did just like a background writing stamp. And this does work as a background writing stamp. And all I did was I actually wrote just very small on there. And I actually wrote words because I thought I'll just do like kind of like scribbles, but then I thought it wouldn't look like words. But they're going to be backwards anyway, so nobody's going to be able to read them. Now the thing about this is it's going to be a background. It's going to be solid background with the words not showing up. So it's not the same as you know, like the word background stamps. I've been trying to work on that. Haven't quite got that down yet. Haven't figured it out. But it still looks really cool. And so that's how they work. And of course, you know, to cut a leaf, just, you know, you just fold this in half and just do a shape. You can put the stem on the bottom or not. When Caged Fish did hers, she doesn't put stamps on hers. So I'm going to do this one kind of half and half. Half orange and half red, and we'll see what that looks like. I'm kind of moving it a little bit in the middle, hoping it'll give me a little, oops, I don't have anything on this outside edge out here. I'm kind of hoping it will give me a little bit of an ombre in the middle. And again, because this is that corrugated cardboard, I have to make sure that I get those edges down, because the leaf is not too bad. Oh, that looks pretty. Not quite as much of an ombre, but a little bit. I could have moved it back and forth a little bit more. So, but that's how you make these stamps and how you make a paint pad. And I'm going to use a little bit of that later, so I'm just going to set that aside. But I think that they turn out really cool. I really like them. And go over and check out Caged Fish's channel to see how she did hers. So, but that's just it. And, you know, you can, you know, the coolest part is just doodling on them. It just makes them look so neat when it's, you know, this looks like a leaf, and that's cool. Sometimes you want something that looks like a leaf, but sometimes you just want something that is just different, and the doodling makes them different. So I really do appreciate you watching. For next week, I thought we would make something we could give as gifts. It's been around forever, but we'll need some of our painty papers, and then we'll need some sticky notes, some stickers, some Velcro, and some ribbon. So we're going to buy this 1, 2, 3. We'll have 4 things here that we need to buy. So we'll put $1 in our bank. And so that leaves us with, because I had to spend $1 to make the paint pad, we went back to $12.50 in our bank. Now we've added $1 back in, so now we're at $13.50. So this is what we'll need for next week. I do hope that you enjoyed today's video. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.